Om Agyanatimanandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupam Sagradatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Pradina Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakans Vitam Sha Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishubhanu Sudadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakapa Dravyasya Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 12, The Killing of the Demon Aghasura, text number 19. Aho mitrani gatata Sattvam kutam parastitam Asmat sangrasana vyatat Vyala tundayate nanuva Aho mitrani gadata Sattva kutam parastitam Asmat sangrasana vyata Vyala tundayate nava Ahomidrani gatata Sattva kutam parastitam Asma sangrasana vyata Vyala tundayate nava Ahomidrani gatata Sattva kutam parastitam Vyata Vyala tundayate nava. Ladies. Omitrani Gadata Ahomitrani Gadata Sattva kutam parasitam Asmat sangrasana vyata Vyala tundayate nava Aho Vitrani friends Gadata just let us know Sattva kutam dead python, purastitam, as it is just before us all. Asmat, all of us, sangrasana, to devour us all together. Vyata yala tunda yate. The python has spread its mouth. Nava, whether it is a fact or not. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The boy said, my dear friends, is this creature dead, or is it actually a living python, with its mouth spread wide, just to swallow us all? Kindly clear up this doubt. Purport. The friends began to discuss among themselves the reality of the wonderful creature laying before them. Was it dead, or was it actually a living python trying to swallow them up? So now there's many verses without any purport. Thereafter they decided, dear friends, this is certainly as an animal sitting there to swallow us all. Its upper lip resembles a cloud reddened by the sunshine, and its lower lip resembles the reddish shadows of a cloud. So in case you can't imagine what's being talked about, here's a picture of it. Here's a bona fide picture taken by some devotee. Eyewitness to the event. One thing you can notice is that Aghasura has very good dental care. Many teeth, but doesn't look like he has any fillings whatsoever. So even the demons take care of their body quite nicely. Translation. On the left and right, the two depressions resembling a mountain cave are the corners of its mouth, and the high mountain peaks are its teeth. Its length and breadth, the animal's tongue resembles a broad traffic way, and inside its mouth is very, very dark, like a cave in a mountain. The hot, fiery wind is the breath coming out of its mouth, which is giving off the bad smell of burning flesh because of all the dead bodies he has eaten. So, we know Aghasura at least was not a vegetarian. But he did eat cowherd boys. Then the boy said, has this living creature come to swallow us? If he does so, he will immediately be killed like Aghasura without delay. Thus they looked at the beautiful face of Krishna, the enemy of Aghasura, and laughing loudly and clapping their hands, they entered the mouth of the python. So let me ask you, would you enter the mouth of the python? After talking about the terrible animal this way and that way, they decided to enter the demon's mouth. They had full faith in Krishna because they had experienced how Krishna had saved them from the mouth of Aghasura. Now here's another Sura, Aghasura. Therefore they wanted to enjoy the sport, entering the demon's mouth, being saved by Krishna, the enemy of Aghasura. Supreme Personality of Godhead, text number 25. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated as Antaryami, the super soul in the core of everyone's heart, heard the boys talking among themselves about the artificial python. Unknown to them, it was actually Aghasura. Do you know what Agha means? Agha means sin. Sin. So he was a sinful demon. most demons were sinful, but they don't have. You have to be especially sinful to be called Aghasura. A demon who had appeared as a python. Krishna, knowing this, wanted to forbid his associates to enter the demon's mouth. So snakes are especially envious. So he was a snake, he was sinful, and he was a demon. A lot of things going against him. In the meantime, while Krishna was considering how to stop them, all the cowherd boys entered the mouth of the demon. The demon, however, did not swallow them. For he was thinking of his own relatives who had been killed by Krishna and was just waiting for Krishna to enter his mouth. Krishna saw that all the cowherd boys, who did not know anyone but him as their Lord, had now gone out of his hand and were helpless, having entered like straws into the fire of the abdomen of Aghasura, who was death personified. It was intolerable for Krishna to be separated from his friends, the cowherd boys. Therefore, as if seeing that this had been arranged by his internal potency, Krishna was momentarily struck with wonder and unsure of what to do. Now, what was to be done? How could both the killing of the demon and the saving of the devotees be performed simultaneously? Krishna, being unlimitedly potent, decided to wait for an intelligent means by which he could simultaneously save the boys and kill the demon. Then he entered the mouth of Aghasura. Krishna is known as Ananta Virya Sarvagya, because everything is known to him. Because he knows everything perfectly well, it was not difficult for him to find a means by which he could save the boys, at the same time kill the demon. Thus he also decided to enter the demon's mouth. When Krishna entered the mouth of Aghasura, the demigods behind the clouds exclaimed, "Alas! Alas!" For the friends of Aghasura, like Hamsa and other demons, were jubilant. Can't make everyone happy. When the invincible Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, heard the demigods crying, "Alas! Alas!" from behind the clouds, he immediately lodged himself within the demon's throat, just to save himself and the cowherd boys, his own associates, from the demon who wished to smash them. Purport. Such are the acts of Krishna, Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Tadiskritam. By enlarging himself within the throat of the demon, Krishna suffocated and killed him, at the same time saved himself and his associates from imminent death, and also saved the demigods from lamentation. Translation. Then, because Krishna had increased the size of his body, the demon extended his body to a very large size. Nevertheless, his breathing stopped, he suffocated, and his eyes rolled here and there and popped out. That must have been a sight. Seeing someone's eyes pop out. The demon's life air, however, could not pass through any outlet, and therefore it finally burst out through a hole in the top of the demon's head. When the demon's life air had passed away through that hole in the top of his head, Krishna glanced over the dead calves and cowherd boys and brought them back to life. Then Mukunda, who can give one liberation, came out of the demon's mouth with his friends and the calves. From the body of the gigantic python, a glaring effulgence came out, illuminating all directions, and stayed individually in the sky until Krishna came out from the corpse's mouth. Then, as all the demigods looked on, this effulgence entered into Krishna's body. Purport. Apparently, the serpent named Aghasura, because of having received association with Krishna, attained mukti by entering Krishna's body. Entering the body of Krishna is called Sayuja Mukti. But later verses prove that Aghasura, like Dandavakra and others, received Swarupya Mukti. This has been broadly described by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur with references from the Vaishnava Toshini of Srila Jiva Goswami. Aghasura attained Swarupya Mukti, being promoted to the Vaikuntha planets to live with the same four-armed bodily features as Vishnu. The explanation how this is so may be summarized as follows. The effulgence came out of the python's body and became purified, attaining spiritual Shuddha Sattva, freedom from material contamination. Because Krishna had stayed within the serpent's mouth even after the serpent's death. One may doubt that such a demon full of mischievous activities could attain the liberation of Swarupya or Sayuja, and one may be astonished about this. But Krishna is so kind that in order to drive away such doubts, he had the effulgence, the individual life of the python, wait for some time in its individuality in the presence of all the demigods. Krishna is the full effulgence, and every living being is part and parcel of that effulgence. As proved here, the effulgence in every living being is individual. For some time, the effulgence remained outside the demon's body, individually, and did not mix with the whole effulgence, the Brahmajyoti. The Brahman effulgence is not visible in the material to material eyes. But to prove that every living being is individual, Krishna had this individual effulgence stay outside the demon's body for some time, for everyone to see. Thus Krishna proved that anyone killed by him attains liberation, whether Sayuja, Swarupya, Samipya, or whatever. But the liberation of those who are on the transcendental platform of love and affection is vimukti, special liberation. Thus the serpent first entered the body of Krishna personally and mixed up with the Brahman effulgence. This merging is called Sayuja Mukti. But from later verses we find that Aghasura attained Swarupya Mukti. Text 38 explains that Aghasura attained a body exactly like that of Vishnu. And the verse after that also clearly states that he attained a completely spiritual body like that of Narayan. Therefore, in 2 or 3 places, the Bhagavatam has confirmed that Aghasura attained Swarupya Mukti. One may then argue how is it that some grammar mistake here. When may they argue? How is it that he mixed with the Brahman effulgence? The answer is that as Jai and Vijay, after 3 births, again attained Swarupya Mukti in association with the Lord, Aghasura received a similar liberation. Namo Vishnu Varaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Srimate Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Tanamane Namaste Saraswatunde Ve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shinjavadi Paskajya Desadarna Aho Bhakta Swakato Aho Bhakti Yajivra. Anyhow, Aho Bhakti. There's a verse in the Bhagavatam about when Gadadhar Pandit was wanting to meet Pundarik Vidyanidhi because he heard he was a great devotee. Mukunda, associate of Lord Chaitanya, was talking about Pundarik Vidyanidhi's great qualities. So Gadadhar Pandit was interested in meeting him. But when he came to the Pundarik Vidyanidhi's house, he saw that actually Pundarik Vidyanidhi was on a bed covered with silk. And he was dressed in all silk. His hair was nicely done with oil. He was smoking a hookah. You know what a hookah is? Have you ever smoked a hookah? Have you ever heard of a hookah? Anyone ever read Alice in Wonderland? Have you ever heard of Alice in Wonderland? What's that? In Alice in Wonderland, there's a caterpillar that Alice meets and smoking a hookah. Hookah is, you put, I think there's water. I don't know, how does a hookah work? Somehow or another, you have to burn like hashish or something, and instead of just directly inhaling the hashish, it's sent through water to purify it. Anyhow, so he was sitting there smoking a hookah. It's not one of our principles to do that. And he had a very beautiful room he was in, full of opulences, with candles and flowers. So Gadadhar Pandita was thinking, this is a great devotee of Krishna, a great renunciate. So Mukunda could understand Gadadhar Pandita's mentality, his mind. So he recited that verse, Aho Bhakti, I forget the next, how wonderful it is that Putana had come to kill Krishna and poisoned her breast, and Krishna sucked on her breast and killed her, and gave her the liberation of becoming one of his mothers in Goloka Vrindavan. How merciful is that Krishna? Who could be more merciful than he is? So Krishna is so merciful, it's inconceivable. Then we may wonder, if he's so merciful, why isn't he merciful to me? I mean, I come to the temple, I don't try and poison him. I don't go to the altar to try and eat Krishna and swallow him. And yet he was more merciful to Aghasura and to Putana than he is to me. So is he merciful to some people and not so merciful to others? Does he like everyone but he doesn't like me? What did I do wrong? No, actually we don't know the history. We don't know the history, how Putana became Putana. We don't know how Aghasura became Aghasura. Because no one just goes back to the spiritual world without having done pious activities. Krishna may be merciful, but he's not foolish. He doesn't kill demons and have a problem. They go to the spiritual world and you have a whole community of demons in the spiritual world they don't know how to get rid of. No, they're all, in the past generally they were devotees, they got cursed, or they had one mentality, like, as we know, Putana was formerly, she had different lives actually. There are different Putanas. Putana is one of the favorite in Krishna's pastimes. So in one millennium she was Bali Maharaj's sister. Another millennium she was when Vamanadev appeared, she was his daughter. In any case, when Vamanadev walked into the assembly, she fell in love with him because Vamanadev is all attractive. He's all beautiful. And she wanted to become his mother. She had a strong desire to become Vamanadev's mother. But after Vamanadev took away Bali Maharaj's kingdom, the whole universe, she became very angry and wanted to kill Vamanadev. So she had two different types of mentality. One, she wanted to mother him. The other, she wanted to kill him. So Krishna fulfills all desires, especially strong desires like Bali Maharaj's sister or his daughter had. And therefore it was arranged later on she could take birth as Putana. I think first she took birth as Surpanaka. She also had a chance to try to kill Sita Devi and eat her. And then she took birth as Putana in Krishna's pastimes, where she got simultaneously the opportunity to become Krishna's mother and also try to kill him. But after she was killed by Krishna, by Krishna's association, her sinful desires and her sinful reactions were eliminated, and therefore what was left was her original spiritual desire to be Krishna's mother, and therefore she was elevated to the spiritual kingdom, to be eternally Krishna's mother there. Similarly, Aghasura, he was also a demon, but obviously he also had his history that qualified him, after being killed by Krishna, to eventually obtain Swarupya Mukti, but after some time, not immediately. Just like Jai and Vijay had to go through 3 successive births before they came back as Madhai and Jagai with their final birth, where they could go back as gatekeepers in Vaikuntha. So we should appreciate Krishna is all just, and he's also all merciful. His program is always, everything he's created is out of mercy. It's not that sometimes Krishna is merciful and he tried to help people. Other times he's indifferent. Some of his creation is mercy, and some of it is very distressful. Niramaya, no mercy. No, Krishna is always merciful. Everything about him is mercy, and therefore everything he's created is mercy. And therefore everything that Krishna does is good. Everything that's happening to us is also good. But we have to accept it's good and not fight against it. That's bad. As soon as we try to go against Krishna's will, then that's bad. Mostly because people are in the bodily concept of life, they believe they're going to die when the body dies. Therefore, anything that upsets the body, they think is very unfair, is the worst calamity. Yes, in the material world, it is the worst calamity. But in any case, it is not that at the time of leaving this body that it's something different than what's already happening. We're getting a new body at every moment. But no one's disturbed by that, usually. In the course of time, of course, we can see it's growing old, but it's always changing. And so death is simply another change of body. Of course, changing into the body of a child in the womb is a little distressful, but it's, for the most part, but then it's supposed to be distressful. It's not supposed to be encouraging. Finally, I get a vacation in the womb. It's not supposed to be a vacation. It's supposed to try to discourage us. Death is supposed to discourage us. Birth is supposed to discourage us. Disease and old age is supposed to discourage us from staying in this body, for staying in the material world. Otherwise, there would be no hope for liberation. If we actually thought we were enjoying perpetually, we'd want to stay here forever. Why would we need Krishna? We thought we were enjoying forever. Because people are under the illusion they're enjoying. It says that even if you go to hell, they try to find some comfortable place there. Even in hell, people they get enough vitamin D there. They're always warm. There's rock music. So even in hell, Prabhupada said they're trying to find some happiness there. So what to speak of this planet, where people will struggle to get even the most meager, insignificant happiness. They'll struggle, and when they get it, they think they've achieved something very great. If they go one day not being afflicted by so many less miseries, they think that was a very successful day. Of course, we're so much accustomed to misery that we just take it for granted. Which part of my body hurts today? We think, well, that's just normal. We become accustomed to suffering. And therefore we don't try to get out of it. Or we try to get out of it, but by means that usually produce even more suffering. Or, as Prabhupada said, You have a heavy weight on your head, and so in order to change that, you put the heavy weight on your shoulder, so now your head doesn't hurt anymore. But now your shoulder hurts, so you bring it to the other shoulder. So now that shoulder hurts, so you bring it to you. That way we're just transferring the misery from one place to the next, thinking we're accomplishing something. We're making progress. But real progress is to recognize that ultimately we have to just think about Krishna. We have to serve Krishna. We have to find out what Krishna wants us to do, and then do it, and then Krishna will reciprocate. And then we can understand what at least freedom from distress is to some degree. What it means to make progress, to get free from our distress due to our great attachment to our gross and subtle body. The soul has his main problem, his great attachment to his gross and subtle body, or to other people's gross and subtle bodies. It's our attachment to the material world that causes all our suffering. And certain things will increase that suffering, that attachment, and certain things will increase our attachment to Krishna, and therefore our detachment from the material energy. Then, as that happens, then there is happiness increases and lack of suffering increases at the same time. Shubhada and Kleshagni. So that's the process of sadhana bhakti, which we should try to take seriously and try to appreciate how fortunate we are to perform it, because we're actually making progress towards eternal happiness and freedom from misery. And others are ignorant. They're just trying to solve their problems, but as Prahlad Maharaj said, every time I try to solve a problem, I created 5 more problems. And people become proud of their ability to solve problems that they themselves are creating. The politicians, they create so many problems, and they solve one of them, and they glorify themselves for being so intelligent. But actually, they're causing the problems. And the people themselves, due to their sinful activities, deserve the problems. And they elect people who flatter them, tell them they're going to solve all the problems, and after the politicians create so many more problems, they get rid of them for the next flattering politician who claims that they're going to solve all the problems. So people, Kali Yuga means the cheated and the cheated. Most people are Shudras, they're less intelligent, therefore they're lining up to be cheated, and there's a few, actually, Naradamas, they're lined up to cheat people who want to be cheated. So that's simply people who see karma living out, the cheated and the cheated. But Krishna is all merciful, and if people get knowledge, then they can understand how, if they take shelter of Krishna, then that's what the whole purpose of all of this suffering is for, to encourage one to take shelter of Krishna. And that's the greatest benediction. Brahmande Brahmite Kon Bhagavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Vai Bhakti Lata Beach. After wandering up and down throughout the whole universe, if one is fortunate, one comes in contact with a spiritual master and he gets the seed of pure devotional service, which is the instructions how to serve Krishna. And we follow those instructions how to serve Krishna, then the result is that Krishna will become pleased and will become Krishna conscious and will become happy. Because with Krishna we're always happy. Just like the cowherd boys, we're always happy. They had firm faith in Krishna. So if we practice devotional service and Krishna reciprocates with us, then by our personal experience, our faith in Krishna will also increase. How merciful, how beautiful, how wonderful he is. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Hvala. Any vaprasna? Vaprasanya. Vaprasanya? Prashanya. Or Or as they say in English, questions. Yes. We have a microphone?
How we get firm faith in Krishna?
Drida vrata. Kesham, what is that? Yesham antikatam papam, janam punya karmanam, te dvanva moha nirvuktva, bhajante mam drida vrataha. That firm faith, it's by getting rid of our unfirm faith, by becoming detached from it, and by developing a little faith at a time. And how to develop it? We hear from Krishna's devotees who have more experience than we do. We try to understand what they're saying, and when therefore we ask questions when we don't understand. And then when we understand, then we apply it within our lives, what they're suggesting that we do. And by applying it within our lives with faith in the devotee, then Krishna reciprocates with us and reveals the theoretical knowledge we had. And when we experience what's being talked about, becomes part of our experience, then our faith gradually develops. And when we have no more doubts, because our experience becomes complete, then we have drida vrata, we have firm faith. So first we have to first we have to stop our sinful activities. That's the first thing that we're told, by getting a higher taste by chanting Hare Krishna. And then when we do that, then we become, when our sinful activities gradually diminish, then we become more and more attached to the process of sadhana bhakti. And the result is that gradually we experience Krishna more and more, and our faith becomes more and more fixed in Krishna. Eventually we develop a clear understanding, and then we develop even a liking for the process. But Krishna says that yad tadagre vishamiva pariname mritopama tatsukam satyakam proktam atmabuddhi prasadajam. That which in the beginning is bitter like poison, at the end is just like nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization, said to be happiness in the mode of goodness. So Krishna doesn't promise bliss all at once, perpetually. He says there's going to be, you have to be tested. We all have to be tested. There has to be some trouble, some distaste. Chanting Hare Krishna is not always so blissful, because our minds are uncontrolled. So it's not that the chanting is not blissful, it's our uncontrolled mind that bothers us. Trying to control it is difficult, because we're not used to it, we're attached to it. But if we keep on trying, then eventually the mind comes under control and fixes itself, and becomes fixed in Krishna. Then we can understand the value of the chanting better. So Krishna tells us, he's not giving us some kind of pie in the sky, understanding what's going to, if you do devotional service, the angels come out and blow their trumpets for you. It takes some austerity, some practice. Krishna is not cheap. Anything else? Kvala Grantaraj srimad-bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.